Hey there, Collab team. This video is for Spiky, but it's also for the team. I wanted to follow up on Spiky's video about making a seamless texture. So what I did is I followed his tutorial and made myself a seamless texture along his global UV shader. So I've got my own untitled texture here and made use of his global UV. So I've got that set up, and so when I duplicate this object, it obviously is a different texture of the seamless pattern every time, which is good. That's exactly what we want. And I had a question that I posed to him about being able to use arrays because I've been coding an add-on in Serpens, and Serpens is super cool. This is just a small shout out. You basically can code using nodes, and it's a very visual scripting language. And I was able to create an add-on almost entirely out of nodes. I've got some Python that I've done as well, but it's 4,000 lines of code just on my add-on. And then I've got all these other scripts that I can use inside Serpens as well. So you can call scripts and use them, and you can also create one giant add-on from everything. So I wanted to give a shout out for Serpens because I have all these node graphs that I've created to be able to make my add-on. And I'm going to show it real quick. But we had a question on the forum that I posed about being able to array. And with my add-on, I've got an array set up. Now, if I just do a normal array, so let's bring this in here and we'll array this over. Notice how when I array, the pattern is repeated every piece of the array because they're all sharing the same origin. So when I move over, it's just repeating the seamless texture. And it's no longer seamless in a lot of ways. Because, well, I guess it is. But you're going to repeat the texture. We don't want that. We want to be able to have a unique texture every time. And even if I were to change the relative offset, it's not changing where that texture is coming from, since it's all sharing a same origin point. So what I need to do is rather than use an array, I can use what's called an instancer. And so all an instancer is just some object. And I chose to make a plane, and then I went into edit mode and I merged them all into one vertex. And then I made my board and made it a child of the vertex. And when you do that, you can go into the object properties, and there's an instancing section on the properties. And currently, it's mostly set to none, unless you customize your Blender. But most of the time, you're going to have a parent, and your children are just going to move along with your object. So when I've got my child here, it's been parented along, and as I move my parent, it moves the child. And notice how when I move the child, it is moving that texture. So I can change this to a vertex instance, and so now it's instancing off of my vertex. And if I were to go into edit mode and select this vertex and duplicate it, every single vertex that's in this vertex instancer object is going to create a child instance as well. So let's just show what instancing is doing on the vertex level. Now if I had a plane, I could also do it on faces. Since I don't have any faces, I'm making use of the vertex, and I've got a reason for that. Makes it easy for me to pick my location on my offset. So now that I've got an instance child, I don't need to have the regular child. I can just hide it. And now we've got a beautiful instance child, and we can add an array. And I can't do a relative offset on the vertex, but I can go do a constant offset. And I can bring that in. And now you've got, we can change this count up. You got very unique textures on every single one of these because the children are being offset by each vertex, if that makes sense. The origin point is changing. And so now when I move this, every single one is technically coming from a different location. And that's what we want. Now I've created this ultimate grids engine, and what this thing does is it lets me set up my grids in advance. So I've got an X array, a Y array, and a Z array. And the XYZ doesn't really matter. It's just if you want to make cubes and things. But you can set up the offsets, and I've got constant offset pre-checked for all these. And so I can set the counts, I can set everything about the array for each one of the grids. And then I can come to my Ultimate Grids engine, and as long as I have my instancer selected, I guess we'll do this first on the regular floorboard. I've got a nice pattern that I've got pre-built. And I can set the pattern to be fit on a length. But notice how when I move this pattern, they're all moving along the same texture, that was the problem. And so we'll go ahead and get rid of that grid. And we've got the instancer grid now, and when I make that pattern, the pattern is different on every single one. And that is exactly what we want. So now I can make a room as large as I want, or put this pattern somewhere on some object, and now we've got a very unique seamless texture. And this is just for one texture. So if we were to create 3 different textures and made them all seamless, and we had an object that we duplicated across 3 different textures and we made them all children of a vertex, we'd get the same pattern and you'd never see the repetition. And that's how powerful Spiky's workflow is with using an array and an instancer. And you don't have to change anything with his code on the shader editor. The floorboard can make use of that standard seamless pattern that he has working that moves along with the object's location. So I wanted to share that video real quick, and I hope that's helpful. I'm looking forward to using stuff that I've built on my own, and I'm going to try to have this released in time, but I may not have it done yet. I've got it set up that I can array multiple selections of objects at the same time, but I'm not done with that code. So that is a quick share though. Thanks Spiky for the tip, and I think instancing is probably going to be the way to go. I'll see if I can add in the extra stuff you're working on as far as making a color per object. That may be something that also adds a little bit of unique texturing to each object, but we'll see how it goes. All right, we'll catch you all in the next video.